Well, what you're looking at here is a 2004 911 GT3. The first 911 GT3 that was brought into North America is this generation. This car has only got about 85,000 kilometers on it, and the previous owner used it for its intended purpose. It was modified to go to the track for track days. It wasn't raced, it was just used to go to track days. This thing is quick. So let's get into what the GT3 is. GT cars are special cars. In this case, you get the 911 turbo engine minus the turbochargers in the back. So that's a Mezger engine, rear wheel drive only. This generation, manual transmission only. Really a sharply focused weapon for going to the track or using as an extreme enthusiast. This car is also rare. The 996 GT3, been looking up the numbers of production that came into North America, and it's less than 1,000 cars. Now, how many of those actually came into Canada? Very, very few. This is a local Vancouver car, was sold at MCL Motors, has been in the Vancouver area its entire life, and now someone else is going to enjoy it. So before we go any further, thanks to Core Motor Cars here in Vancouver for letting me borrow this car for the day. It is for sale. Somebody's going to get a quite rare machine. Now, this car has 18-inch wheels, and these are the correct GT3 wheels, 18 inches. So interesting now to see how large wheels have become in less than 20 years, but this is absolutely correct. This car's had a lot of modifications to make it quicker around a track. We'll talk a bit about that when we go for a drive. Just want to talk before we go any farther about how this car fits in the collectability sphere of Porsche enthusiasts. Most people would just gravitate towards, say, a 997 GT3, but those in the know, they know that these cars are really quite rare. And they're less expensive, but they're just as quick and just as fun to drive. So I'll tell you more about that. Let's get in. It looks tasty on the inside. I'll show you that first. Welcome to the inside of this 996 GT3. The first thing you're gonna notice are these hardback Recaro racing seats. Now, they don't have a lot of adjustment to them. They're basically sculpted for your body. They're meant to hold you in place. So you have the seat belts here, but you also have the brace behind that can basically attach the racing harness. So when you're at the track, you're bolted into that cage, and that's for when you're driving on the track. So this car has both. Also, these cars have what's called a rear seat delete. There's no rear seat, and you have that brace in the back for the seat belts, also for structural rigidity, also for crash worthiness. Now, this looks really very early's 911 RS kind of inspired. I kind of like this. And it also comes, these inserts, the ones that were sold with the car. Looks to me like this has got an Alcantara steering wheel that has been added. I'm not sure if that's original. Can't remember back that far ago. But yeah, that looks pretty good and feels very good. Now, of course, GT3s get no sunroof, makes the car more rigid and lighter. Now, this car has the heating, air conditioning, and the radio. I'm trying to remember, I know the next generation you could delete that when you ordered the car. Not sure on the 996. Regardless, this actually has the radio and the air conditioning, which is a very nice thing if you're driving out to the track on a hot summer day. So I want to read to you. Now, I mentioned this car is being heavily modified. This is a first-class, tastefully done modification for someone that wants to use this car for its intended purpose, which means going to the track and having some fun doing some open lapping. Now, I'm just going to go through the engine. The same is true for the transmission, the brakes, and the suspension. All kinds of modifications. This is just the engine. FVD race headers, FVD ECU tune, IPD intake plenum, 997 GT3 throttle body, BMC air filter, cat deletes, Europipe exhaust, cup crankcase breather, RSS solid engine mounts, coolant fittings that have been welded, meaning the coolant pipes have been pinned, and cup front oil cooler. So that's just the engine. The transmission is being pulled apart and put back together with different gearing. The brakes have been upgraded, and the suspension has been changed as well with lowering suspension. So that's the big long list of modifications tastefully done to this car to make it go faster. Now we start it up and go for a drive. So this car was rated when it was sold at 381 horsepower. The owner of this car, after all the modifications he did, now the engine wasn't taken apart. Most of it was done for how the car breathes, the intake and the exhaust, the different manifold, what have you. This car was dynoed. At the wheels, this car has 375 horsepower. So the posted number was 381. That's at the flywheel. This is 375 at the rear wheels. That's impressive. Now we hear this term GT3 used, but what does it really mean? It means a production car is homologated for racing. So when you need to qualify for a certain production series of racing, the GT3 series, you actually have to produce a certain number of cars and sell them to the public. I think the number off the top of my head is 400. So that was achieved. These cars were sold, and then people could, privateers could buy these cars and go racing in the GT3 series. And the GT3 series continues around the world today with the current model cars. So basically what you're buying is a track-ready weapon right out of the box from Porsche. As I mentioned at the beginning, this is basically the 911 Turbo without the turbocharger, the same Mezger engine, rear-wheel drive only, and a lightweight application so you can go around the track faster. So this makes all the right noises. You can hear a bit of transmission whine as well. That lets you know that this car has been set up just to go fast. The steering is very, very direct and precise, but to be honest with you, it doesn't beat you up. Sure, it's a bit bumpy here and there, but it doesn't kill you. I drove it here, no issue. Seats are very comfortable for a short period of time, and especially if you're going to the track. But if you were doing long distance driving, this style of seat on any Porsche that doesn't have the seat adjustment to it, you can't really stretch out on a long trip. So I'm looking down at the odometer, 85,500 kilometers, local car, being set up to go and have some fun. And that's who should buy this car. Somebody that wants to use it for its intended purpose. And it's nice to buy a car like this, knowing that there are very few of them around. And if you go to the track, it's all sorted and ready to go. Nice one. Now, sometimes you get in a car and it's been modified to make it go quicker, but it doesn't make it more drivable in everyday situations. This car, whoever did all the work on it, definitely sorted it out, and it feels proper and correct and very, very quick. So the 996 GT3 is a very rare car. As I mentioned, less than 1,000 of these were brought in to North America. How many are still on the road? That's anybody's guess. This one with 85,000 kilometers, local Vancouver car, is going to go to a good home, and somebody is getting a real time capsule of the very first GT3 cars sold here in North America. So thanks for watching. We do an interesting collectible or coveted car every Friday on the channel. Hit the subscribe button, the notification bell, and we'll see you next Friday.